Hi, my name is Elena and I'm making this video because I think all of us need to be better communicators. You, me, all of us. It's always been an interest of mine and I've made this video about the most important law in communication. Also, there's another reason for making this video. I recently had an experience which people that have been through a near-death experience will definitely understand me. But we were driving home from vacation and our car got hit by a moose. So, you know, the car usually has a front and a bumper and a top and the windshield and the top. Well, our car was more like one slant. So everybody walked home on their own feet that night but the moose. But it made me think, you know, did my life matter? Did I make a difference? Did I make the world a better place? So I'm making this because if people in the world have this information and apply it every day, everybody, then the world is going to be a better place, for sure. And I'm making it free because I think everybody should have access to this information, not, you know, if they go to college or if they are born in a certain country or if they're a certain race. Everyone should know this because it's natural for people to use this law. It's like a law of the universe, like gravity. So it's just one thing that you need to know, you need to apply every day. So imagine feeling completely invigorated and energized and fun when communicating with other people and feeling like you're getting your point across and you're really understanding someone and you're collaborating together, which means you have a possibility of accomplishing something great. This is what you can achieve with this law applied in your communication with children, adults, your coworkers, even objects and concepts. And I'll give you many examples so you can understand exactly what I mean. So without further ado, let's look at this formula. It's called affinity triangle. Affinity because in order for us to communicate, we first need to feel affinity to someone or to something or to an idea. For example, I don't have a lot of affinity for war because I don't want to be in a war zone. But I have a lot of affinity for my child because I want to hug her and squeeze her. Affinity can be measured like distance. You know, how closely do you want to be with that which you're communicating with? So it's like love, right? So affinity is at the top of this triangle. There are also two other corners, and it's a right triangle, which means if one increases, then the other ones increase too. It's growing or decreasing together. So sometimes you have a lot of affinity for something, it's easy to communicate with it, right? Your cat, you always want to hug it, you always want to pet it. But sometimes you don't have affinity, so you need to start with the other two corners of the triangle. So that's why you need to know what they are and how to increase them. So the other one is, we already mentioned, is communication. So if you're already naturally a good communicator, you just start communicating, and as you go, you feel like affinity rising, and you reach better understanding. But even if you're not, if you're choleric, sanguinic, introvert, whatever, this still works. It's like gravity. So if you know it, you're good. If you know it and ignore it, you're doomed. So the third part of the triangle is reality. You have to have common reality. It's like a common ground, something you can reach an agreement. If you walk into a room and you see people with red hair, they're always in one corner. The gingers always hang out together, if you have ever noticed that. Or the geeks, or the cool kids, they're always in groups because that which is alike you is easier to communicate with and is easier to feel affinity for. You want to be close to people and things that are similar to you. So, how can we start this from a different angle, right? Let's look at an example. Let's say you just had a fight with your spouse. So your communication is low because you're not speaking. Your common reality is low because you didn't agree about something, you had a fight, and obviously you're not feeling too hot about each other. What can you do? You got to start from one of these corners. So you can feel, oh, I really love him, I really love him, I really love him, I really need to try. You can, but it's kind of a, you know, hard way to begin. You can start communicating, but you already have a block in communication, so it better not, because if you start, it might only lead to lower reality, lower affinity, lower communication. So at that point, it's best to start with reality and build it very slowly. So if one of you is standing in the kitchen fiercely washing dishes, you know, trying to blow the steam, you know, you can just stand close. Just maybe slowly start handing the dishes or drying them off or sweeping the floors. Just be in the same common area. And you start feeling like, you know, maybe I don't even mind talking to him now. You know, and then one of you said, you want some tea? I'm going to make some tea. And then one says, oh, okay, fine. You know, and before you know it, your affinity goes up. And then 2 hours later, you already figured out what it is that you didn't agree about and how to handle it. how to communicate to each other, you're already happy, you're speaking nicely to each other, and of course your affinity is really high. Let's look at another example. How can you do this with an object? Let's say if you're trying to teach somebody to drive a car. We see them around on the street, so our affinity for them is not low yet, right? It's already, a little bit higher. But if you have been in a car accident or you've been hit by a car and so on, you're already scared of cars. You feel like a rejection to them. And this actually works like a therapy here. What you need to do is you need to raise common reality first, because affinity is low, desire to communicate is low. Again, start with common reality. Get this person to touch the car, to open the doors, to push the buttons, to move the levers, to open the trunk and close it, to open the top, even if they don't understand what's in the engine. Let them touch it, move it, control it in some way, even before they even start the engine. Only then they're going to feel like, okay, I'm communicating with it, it feels like common reality, it feels familiar to me, I'm not afraid anymore. I feel more positive about it, okay? You can do the same thing with a child when they're learning something new. I recently taught my nephew how to light a match and set something on fire outdoors. And at first he was really scared, he didn't want to do it, but he wanted to do it, but he was like scared of the process. So very slowly I gave him the match, he played with it at first. Then I gave him the box with the matches. He shook it, he threw it in the air, he played with it, and he's like, okay, I understand this two objects. And I said, let's try to light it. And we light it and we put it out. So it was a gradual process. The next time we light it and we took it to the pile of leaves, and it was on fire. So we took it as a gradual process, but first he started with reality. Now let's look at a concept. When you are teaching somebody something new that doesn't have a physical representation like an idea or a word, it's very important to make it physical for them. So get them to write it down on paper. Get them to write down sentences with it. Get them to make flashcards with them. Get them to communicate with that concept physically. To start with reality, and then of course communication is going to increase. Then they'll be able to hold it in their head and remember it easily, because they have more affinity for it. It becomes more theirs. It becomes closer to them, and they can hold on to it easier. So you could do this in anything in life, even with employees. Let's say if you just hired a new employee, get them to move things at their desk, get them to adjust their chair, get them to set up their computer, get them to rearrange their table, go introduce them to everybody, show them where everything is, get them to touch it, push buttons, move things around, get them to talk to other colleagues, and very quickly their communication reality increases and their affinity goes up. And one last example, salesmen use this all the time. When they come somewhere, they start immediately from communication, but sometimes they start from reality. They just look at you, they ask you a couple of questions where you can immediately agree about. It's a nice weather today. Yeah, it is. You already agreed about the fact that it's nice weather. Is this your son on the picture? Oh yeah, it is. He looks like he is going to school this year, isn't he? Oh yeah, he is. So you're building my common reality, then the affinity goes up, and it's a lot easier to buy something from someone you really like, right? So in my next video, I'm going to give a lot more examples in specific fields about how you can communicate and do it successfully and get what you need and get things done. But also I will tell you about communication cycle. What is truly communication? It's not just speaking or just listening. One communication cycle is considered to be complete and things are accomplished. Okay? So stay tuned. Let me know if you like this content and you want to get more by liking me on Facebook. Also, if you donate, you'll be supporting my cause, little girls and tutus all around the world, which is based on my belief that every little girl wants to be a ballerina. I really wanted to be a ballerina when I was a kid. But even though I didn't become a professional ballerina, doing dance as a child helped me to learn to respect my body, hold my ground, set goals and work really hard and achieve them. And I want to start schools all around the world in not so well-off neighborhoods where usually violence and teenage pregnancy is really high, because I think for women especially, respecting themselves, respecting their body, and feeling beautiful is really important in the future in becoming great leaders in their community, great mothers and great spouses, and great friends, great individuals. So for all the future female leaders around the world, I would really appreciate your donation. And this would be my way of making the world great, and this would be your way of making it possible. Thank you.